After 3 long years of silence, a letter arrived in my mailbox with my daughter's handwriting on it. The moment I saw her name on the envelope, my heart raced so fast it almost leapt from my chest. Just as I was about to tear it open, my wife called out sharply, "Wait!" Her eyes narrowed, and she whispered, "Look again." I froze, staring at the white envelope, every detail magnified under the golden light of the afternoon. For years I had opened an empty mailbox, never allowing myself to hope. But there it was, Naomi's careful script spelling out my name. On her birthday of all days, I held it up against the sun, tracing the familiar strokes of her writing. The return address was the same apartment in Lincoln Park, the very place where our relationship had broken apart. "Minnie!" I shouted, stumbling through the front door. "Come quickly! It's from Naomi!" She appeared, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her face shifting from irritation to stunned surprise. Adjusting her glasses, she whispered, "That's her handwriting." Gently, she touched my arm. "Are you ready for this, Ralph?" The envelope wasn't heavy, but it carried a weight I could feel in my chest. 3 years of unanswered prayers, sleepless nights, and memories of laughter I thought I'd lost forever. Inside might be forgiveness or rejection, an invitation back into her life, or another wall between us. I set it down on the coffee table, afraid to open it, afraid not to. The quiet stretched. I could hear the kitchen clock ticking like a drum. She remembered I'd be thinking of her today. I said finally. Minnie held my hand, steady as always. Her touch pulled me back to birthday mornings long ago. Naomi running down the stairs in her pajamas, bright-eyed and full of life. Before Ethan. Before everything shattered. I picked up the envelope again, my hands shaking. The date stamped on the corner pulled me back to the day it all collapsed. August 31st. The day I drove to her apartment to confront her about Ethan. She looked so tired when she opened the door, shadows under her eyes. I begged her to see what kind of man she had married. But Ethan's charm masked the rot beneath. He smiled, smooth and false. His hand clamped possessively on her shoulder as he told me to let her live her own life. Naomi's eyes wavered, but her voice cut me down like, "I choose my husband." The door closed softly, yet it sounded like thunder. That moment haunted me for years. Calls unanswered, texts ignored. Holidays spent staring at an empty chair where she used to sit. Even when I tried again, showing up at her building, pleading for a moment, Ethan met me with cold threats and warnings. Each attempt left me more shut out than before. And now, after all this time, her letter lay heavy in my hands. Was it a bridge back to her, or the final nail sealing the distance between us? That year, I sent her a gift I'd chosen with such care. A soft leather journal with her initials stamped in gold, the kind she'd loved since her college days. It came back to me unopened, returned to sender, splashed across the front in red. The same thing happened with birthday cards. Even the flowers I sent for Mother's Day were returned. Every gesture of love bounced back at me, like stones against a wall I couldn't climb. My last attempt was last spring. A mutual acquaintance, Nancy, mentioned Naomi's tech company had relocated downtown. I took a day off work and went there, waiting in the lobby as if patience might win me one small moment with my daughter. When she finally appeared with her coworkers, walking toward the revolving door, my chest tightened. She looked thinner, worn out, but still my Naomi.
"Naomi?"
I called. She turned, and for an instant her face softened with something like longing. Then the door shut behind her eyes. "Dad, you can't be here," she said sharply. 5 minutes, please," I begged. We used to be able to talk about anything. Her coworkers hovered nearby, sensing trouble. She stepped closer and whispered, "If Ethan finds out, he'll be furious." "Then don't tell him. This is just between us." Her voice cracked. "Nothing is just between us anymore. I made my choice." "You can still change it," I said, desperate. She shook her head, eyes glistening. "It's too late." And then she walked away without looking back, leaving me alone in a lobby full of strangers pretending not to stare. That night, I told Minnie I was done trying. Some bridges burned too hot to be rebuilt. But now, holding this unexpected letter, that old fragile hope stirred in me again. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe some bridges can be crossed after all. I rose, clutching the envelope to my chest, and went to find Minnie. She sat in her favorite chair by the living room window, the afternoon sun catching silver threads in her hair as she filled out a crossword. "Minnie," I said softly. She looked up, pencil paused. "Ralph, you look like you've seen a ghost." "Better than a ghost," I whispered. "It's from Naomi. Today of all days." Her crossword slipped to the floor as she stood. "Are you sure? Look at the handwriting. The careful loops. The way she crosses her T's." Minnie adjusted her glasses, examining the envelope with the same concentration she'd once given her students' essays. "It does look like hers," she said slowly. "Maybe she's realized family matters most. Maybe Ethan's grip isn't as strong as we thought." I added, surprised by my own flicker of hope. "Oh, Ralph," she said, her hand closing around mine. "I've missed her laugh, her calls. The way she shared every little success at work. Remember how proud she was when they made her manager," I said, before he turned her against us. I forced the bitterness back down. Today was about hope, not anger. "She reached out first," Minnie said, eyes shining. "This letter changes everything." We stood together, staring at the envelope like it contained a miracle. The room felt charged, like the air before a thunderstorm that promises to wash everything clean. "What do you think it says?" Minnie whispered. "Maybe she's pregnant. Or left him. Or just misses her dad." With tears welled in her eyes. "She's 38 today. But part of her will always be that little girl who climbed into bed with us during storms." I nodded, memories of pancake breakfasts and torn wrapping paper flooding back, days when making Naomi happy was simple. "Whatever it says, we'll face it together," Minnie said, settling beside me. I slid my finger under the flap, heart pounding. "Hair goes nothing." "Wait." Minnie's voice cut through the moment like a blade. I froze. "Wait for what?" As she leaned in, squinting at the address. "Give me another look at that handwriting." "What's wrong?" She took the envelope from me, holding it up to the window. "See the slant. Naomi's writing always tilts right. This tilts left. And look at the pressure. Naomi writes heavy. These letters are too light. You're imagining things," I said, irritation creeping into my voice. "Am I? Look at the A in Ralph. Naomi makes hers perfectly round. This one's sharp, and she never loops her F's like that. Someone's copying her style, but getting it wrong." I stared at the letters, my stomach sinking. The spacing, the rhythm, even the movement of the pen felt off. "Who would do this?" I whispered. "I don't know," Minnie said softly. "But this isn't from our daughter." The envelope sagged in my hands, heavy now with deception instead of promise. Someone had mimicked Naomi's handwriting to use our pain against us. The cruelty left me breathless. "Maybe I'm wrong," Minnie murmured. "Maybe she changed her writing." "No." My voice came out flat. "You're right. I see it too." The hope I'd built over the last 10 minutes collapsed like a paper house. We sat in silence, the envelope between us like evidence of our foolishness. Outside, children laughed on their way home from school, the sound of what we'd lost. "We have to open it," I said finally. "We need to know what's inside." Minnie nodded, her face pale. I tore it open with grim resolve. If someone wanted to wound us, I needed to know how and why. The paper unfolded stiffly in my hands. Minnie leaned close as I began to read. "Dear Dad," I said aloud, my voice catching on the word. "Read it all," Minnie whispered. "I desperately need your help. I'm in the hospital and require emergency surgery my insurance won't cover. The doctors say I need a 15,000 immediately, or I might not survive." Minnie gasped. "I know we haven't spoken in years, but you're the only one I can turn to. Please transfer the money to my cryptocurrency wallet." I stumbled over the random string of letters and numbers. "Time is critical. The surgery is tomorrow morning. Please help me, Dad. Your loving daughter, Naomi." The letter fluttered from my hands to the coffee table like a wounded bird. "That's not how she talks," Minnie said firmly. "She never called you Dad in letters. Always Daddy, or by name, and cryptocurrency." "Really?" I shook my head. "Naomi works in IT. If she needed money, she'd use a bank. She'd never write like this. Even angry, she had personality. This sounds like it was written by a bot." I scanned it again, searching for anything authentic. Nothing. No mention of her job, no personal touches. Just a generic plea built to squeeze money from a desperate father. Who does this? My voice cracked. Who targets grieving parents with fake letters from their children? Someone who knows our situation, Minnie said, her analytical mind already working. They knew Naomi's name, our address, that we were estranged. This isn't random. And they sent it on her birthday. I added, realization burning. We stared at each other, feeling the violation like a physical blow. $15,000. I repeated bitterly. They really thought we'd fall for this. You were about to, Minnie said gently. If I hadn't noticed the handwriting. She didn't finish, but she didn't have to. They had counted on my love, my guilt, my longing for reconciliation. I need to call Naomi, I said, standing abruptly. Right now, my priority was her safety, and to find out whether this was part of something far worse. Minnie gave a tense nod. We also need to discover who's behind this. I walked to the kitchen phone, my hands trembling. Not from hope, but from pure anger. Someone had twisted my love for my daughter into a weapon, and I wasn't going to rest until I knew who it was. The phone sat on the counter like an old companion, its black receiver worn smooth from years of conversations. I snatched it up, my fingers automatically dialing the number I'd memorized 3 years ago. Come on, Naomi. Pick up. It rang once, twice, 3 times before her voicemail answered. That cool, professional voice felt nothing like the warm daughter who used to call every Sunday. Naomi, it's your father. Please call me back as soon as you can. This is urgent. I hung up and dialed again. Pacing across the linoleum floor while Minnie stood in the doorway. Again voicemail. Naomi, please. Something's happened and I need to talk to you right away. Sweetheart, call me back. The old endearment slipped out before I could stop it, a leftover from when she still listened to me. My hands were shaking now, from fear or fury. I couldn't tell. Naomi, I tried again. Someone's using your name to scam us. They sent a fake letter asking for money. I slammed the receiver down harder than I meant to. She's not answering. I muttered, though it was obvious. Maybe she's working, Minnie said softly. It's only 30:30 on a Saturday. Or maybe he won't let her answer calls from unknown numbers. The thought made my chest tighten. What if he screened all her calls? Controlled who she spoke to? Minnie touched my shoulder gently. Ralph, your blood pressure. Of course I'm upset, I snapped. Someone is attacking our family, and our daughter won't even pick up the phone. 3 years of frustration spilled out in my voice. What are you going to do? She asked. I looked at the letter on the counter, the cruel scam spelled out in a cryptocurrency address. So impersonal, so cold. I'm going over there, I said, grabbing my car keys. Ralph, no. Remember what happened last time. This is different. I'm not going to argue about her marriage. I'm going to warn her. What if she thinks you made it up just to see her? Minnie asked. That possibility froze me. Naomi had every reason to doubt my motives after 3 years of silence. But doing nothing was worse. Then I'll show her the letter, I said. Let her see the handwriting that isn't hers. The scam, the fake emergency. I headed for the garage door. I can't just sit here while someone targets our family. Be careful, Ralph. Your heart, Minnie pleaded. I paused, hand on the knob. It's been broken for 3 years already, I said. A confrontation won't make it worse. The afternoon sun hit me as I backed out of the driveway. Minnie's worried face stayed framed in the window. Traffic was light leaving Evanston, but I knew it would thicken near the city. 5 minutes to Lincoln Park. 5 minutes to decide how to talk to the daughter who'd chosen her husband over her parents, who might slam the door the second she saw me. But someone was using her name to hurt us, and that was a line I couldn't ignore. The engine hummed as Chicago's skyline rose, like steel mountains ahead. Lake Michigan stretched to the east, gray clouds promising rain. My anger began to mingle with doubt. What if she truly refused to see me? What if she accused me of harassment? 3 years of silence had carved a gulf between us. But the alternative, doing nothing, was worse. As traffic thickened, I took the North Avenue exit, winding through Lincoln Park streets. Naomi's neighborhood was everything she had built without us. Success, independence. A life carefully designed to exclude her parents. I'd driven these streets before during failed reconciliation attempts. Brick facades, manicured gardens, expensive cars, this was her world now. My grip tightened on the wheel as I imagined the conversation ahead. Best case, she would understand the threat. Worst case, she would see this as intrusion. I parked 2 blocks from her townhouse, feeding the meter with trembling hands. The walk would help me plan what to say. Late afternoon sun cast long shadows between the buildings, children's laughter drifting from a nearby park. Her townhouse rose before me. 3 stories of red brick, black shutters, a tasteful front garden. Lights glowed in the windows. Someone was home. I stood at the steps, staring at the burgundy door with its brass knocker and security panel. 3 years since I'd last stood here. My finger hovered over the bell. The chime echoed inside. Footsteps. The peephole darkened. Then locks turned. The door opened. Naomi stood there, older but unmistakably my daughter. Her dark hair was shorter now, her dress casual but expensive. Dad. Her voice was flat, surprised. Hello, Naomi. We stared at each other across the threshold. 3 years of silence between us. Relief flickered through me. No sign of the medical emergency from the letter. What are you doing here? She asked. I need to ask you something. I pulled the letter from my pocket. Did you write this? Her eyes scanned the handwriting that wasn't quite hers. Confusion crossed her face. I didn't write this, she said sharply. Where did you get it? It came in the mail today, on your birthday. Dade, I haven't written you in 3 years. This isn't from me. Her voice carried both conviction and hurt, as if my question proved how far apart we'd drifted. Then who? I asked. Who would forge your handwriting to ask for money? You tell me. You're the one who brought it. Naomi. I'm not accusing you of anything, I said quietly. I'm trying to protect you, I said, the words coming out harsher than I intended. Someone used your name, your handwriting, your identity, to try to trick us out of 15,000. Her expression shifted, confusion turning into icy distance. How convenient, Naomi said flatly. You show up here with some fake letter as an excuse to force your way into my life. Fake. The accusation hit me like a punch. Why would I ever invent something like this? Because you've been trying to contact me for 3 years, and this is the only angle you had left. Before I could answer, Ethan appeared in the hallway, dressed in weekend clothes that probably cost more than I earned in a month. His timing wasn't random. He'd been listening. Naomi, who's here? He asked, though the answer was obvious. My father, Naomi replied. Apparently someone's been sending forged letters in my name, asking for money. Ethan's face registered polite concern, but a flicker of something else. Gone too fast to catch, slipped through his expression. That sounds like a scam, he said smoothly. Ralph, you should report it to the police. Maybe I will. I studied him carefully, searching for recognition in his eyes. Strange number, though. The 15,000. About what someone might lose in a bad streak at the casino. Ethan's jaw tightened, just slightly. I wouldn't know anything about that, he said. Wouldn't you? Dad, enough. Naomi moved closer to him, protective. You can't just come here throwing out accusations. I'm not accusing, I said evenly. I'm asking questions. Ethan rested his hand on Naomi's shoulder, firm, possessive. My chest tightened. Someone targeted our family, I continued. They knew your birthday, your handwriting, even our estrangement. Anyone can find that online? Ethan replied quickly. Could they? Could they also replicate her handwriting and know exactly how long we haven't spoken? They'd leave. Naomi's voice carried finality. I didn't write the letter. I don't know who did, and I can't help you. Can't or won't. Her face hardened. She began closing the door. Don't come back without calling first. I called 3 times. You didn't answer. Then take the hint. The door shut with quiet force, leaving me on the steps with more questions than answers. I walked slowly back to my car, the forged letter still in my pocket. I had confirmed one thing. Naomi wasn't behind this, But Ethan's behavior unsettled me. Too defensive. Too eager to end the conversation. As I drove away, the evening light mocked me, turning what had once felt hopeful into a harsh spotlight on my failure. In Naomi's eyes, I probably looked desperate, inventing stories just to see her again. But Ethan's reactions replayed in my mind. The quick appearance in the hall, the slight stiffness when I mentioned casinos, the way he positioned himself between us. I'd spent 4 decades as an engineer learning to notice when something didn't fit. And this didn't fit. Instead of going home, I turned into the small park where I used to take Naomi as a child. The pond was still, empty of ducks, the air carrying the first hints of autumn. I pulled out the fake letter again. Minnie had been right. The handwriting wasn't quite Naomi's. But whoever had written it knew enough about us to exploit our pain. And in 15,000 sounded exactly like the kind of money someone drowning in gambling debts might need fast. Ethan, everything about his reaction made sense in that light. He hadn't been shielding Naomi from me. He'd been shielding himself. A cold determination settled over me. After 3 years of blaming my daughter, I finally had a clearer target for my anger. 3 days passed in restless waiting. Minnie and I talked the situation to death, deciding not to push too hard. If Ethan was desperate enough to try once, he'd make more mistakes. Then, on a rainy Tuesday evening, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, Naomi stood on the porch, soaked in clutching a manila folder. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. "Dad," she whispered, voice trembling, "I need to talk to you. I found something terrible." She stepped inside, dripping water onto the floor. Minnie appeared instantly, motherly instincts taking over. Naomi opened the folder with shaking hands. Papers spilled onto the coffee table, pages filled with repeated handwriting samples. "What's this?" I asked, though my stomach already knew. "Practice sheets," she said, her voice breaking. He was copying my handwriting. "Look, rows of my name, our address, even drafts of that letter." I leaned closer. It was undeniable. Ethan had forged it. Naomi wiped her face. "I found these in his desk yesterday." I confronted him. At first he denied it. Then when I threatened to call you, he confessed. He has gambling debts. A $37. He planned to send more letters until he got enough to pay it off. The truth landed like a weight. Ethan hadn't just been a manipulator. He had tried to turn our family's brokenness into his lifeline. Tears slid down Naomi's face. "Dad, I'm so sorry. You were right about him. You tried to warn me, and I chose him instead. I let him convince me you were the problem." I reached for her hand. "Sweetheart." "No, let me finish," she said. "You and Minnie are the only people who never lied to me. And I pushed you away." Minnie sat beside her, wrapping her in a hug. "The important thing is, you know the truth now." Naomi straightened, determination flashing through the tears. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. I can't stay married to someone who would scam my own parents." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. For the first time in years, I saw strength, clarity, and the woman we had raised. "Can you forgive me?" she whispered. I opened my arms. She collapsed into them like she had when she was 12. For the first time in 3 years, I felt my family begin to heal. Later, as Minnie set an extra plate at the dinner table, and Naomi sat in her old chair, the weight of separation lifted. The fake letter was burned in the sink, its ashes carried away by running water. Ethan's scheme had failed, and in its ruins, something far greater had been restored. Our bond as a family.